Hey folks, Jen or Morgan here, and we're going to take a look at the GLV3 Mini. So let's get right into it. It's from GreatLakesPaper.com, and let's take a look at the details. So here's a detailed look at the GLV3. This one is in the Starburst Orange. It has a very clicky project button. You supply your own drip tip and atomizer. This portion here is the GLV Mini. And then the band and the other boxes portion are the feeder part. This one is rigged for both top and bottom feeding. So let's look at the bottom feeder configuration. You take the bottom off, battery out, uses a 16340. At this point you can slip off the mod itself. That's the only place it says GLV. And you can use this as a GLV Mini on its own. It's about the same size as a Rio Mini, same height, a little thicker, obviously not as wide. So it's a nice little mini device. This is rigged for bottom feeding. You can see the pin assembly that goes up into the atomizer to feed the liquid. Into that assembly there. On the bottom there is the hole where the tube is going, and the tube then goes down, turns a corner, and runs up back through the body to the bottle, which is upside down. This little metal cap here allows you to grab and pull out the bottle. And in this case, it's just going to also pull out the entire tube that goes to the needle assembly. It's just a wider bit of rubber around the tip of the bottle, and then a more slender tubing to carry the juice itself. And it turns that kind of corner inside the body of the box there and goes to the feeder tube. Now this is kind of not very thick metal, and I suppose you can replace that bottle with another one. You just simply need to make sure that that holder grabs it. And then the juice feeds through. So basically what you have to do is push the bottle in so that little tube comes out. And then I can't get my fingers in there, so basically I use a tweezer or a forceps or anything will work to just push the tube into the hole that's on the bottom of that. It's a needle assembly there. When that tube is all in, you can slide the Mini over the needle. The needle goes up through that assembly into the atomizer. Push the body down, pop the battery in, screw on the bottom cap. Now it is ready for squeezing the bottle. We'll feed juice to the atomizer, and you have a bottom feeding mod. The grips are nice. This is the Mini, so I guess where it would be for the full GLV in there is great for my thumb. Where the Mini is, it's kind of a little more awkward to hit it. Not quite as comfortable. I tend to turn it around. It is bigger than the Rio Grande, about the same width. Thickness, I guess. It's a little wider. The body itself is about the same height. With the atomizer assembly, it's smaller. It is significantly heavier than the Rio. Alright, let's configure it for top feed. You need to put that little ball in there. I'm not quite sure why. And then you use a metric 4 Allen wrench to put that cap in there to seal the atomizer area. You know, the inside of the Mini is kind of unfinished. You can pop this needle feeder assembly out with your finger. It will come right out. Now for top feeding, you have to use the longer tube, feed it down through this hole in the body from the top. It will go down into the hole in the bottom. Then you have to do some twisting, some pulling, and some maneuvering with the tweezers to get it to feed back up into the hole where the bottle comes down. So what you want to end up with is tube down the hole, and then tube coming up the bottle area with enough play for you to work with on either side. Not impossible. Then we're going to take the bottle and pop on its end. And the easiest way to do this is to push the thing against the body of the mod itself and kind of push the tube into that hose. Now that's good to go. To feed the bottle, I'm actually going to take the top of the bottle off and leave the tube where it is. So pop. Now we can fill the bottle quick. come back with a full bottle, pop that top back on. Now you're going to kind of feed the bottle in and pull the tube up from the other hole. So feed the bottle in, pull a little of the extra tube up, feed the bottle in, pull a little bit of the extra tube up, keep going. Sometimes twisting the bottle helps a little bit, push it in flat. Now we're going to go ahead and mount the Mini. Same as before. Now for top feeding, it comes with its own drip tip that has a hole in it to push the tube in. So we're going to put the tube in the hole in the drip tip. They suggest you wind this around and then you put the drip tip on your atomizer. Push the bottle all the way in. Now there's a lot of extra tube here. I think I'm probably actually going to trim that at some point. You have to be really clear in here that there aren't any kinks. So I've taken the mod off the feeder again, made sure there's no kinks in there, and then made sure that when I push the button the juice actually feeds. I've had quite a few times have had to take it off, take the mod off and play with those kinks again just to get it to feed. Then if you hold the bottle, it will slowly feed up and into the atomizer. Now, there's no catch cup here. So in either bottom or top feed, if you get too much juice into the atomizer, it will come right out the bottom of the atomizer and dribble all down the sides of the mod. That for me is kind of a drawback. And I can't fit a drip shield in there even with an adapter, and the adapter wouldn't work for the bottom feeding anyway. Might work for top feeding. So, I mean, it works pretty well. I have it in the top configuration still, as you saw me switch it in the video. I used it for 3 or 4 days as a bottom feeder. Works pretty much like all the bottom feeders. I kind of think I prefer it in top feeder configuration. It's a little, you know, in bottom feeder it's really hard to squeeze that bottle. In top, you can, I don't know if you can watch it roll around, but if you just hold the bottle squeezed and keep squeezing, you can kind of just watch the juice go up, go into the addy and hold, and it seems to take less pressure. It would take less pressure to go through more tubing. I don't know, but it does. .5 ohm Cisco LR addy. It's actually one I used before and cleaned. It's an Illusion 50/50 banana flavored mix. Drawbacks. It's heavy. I ordered the Mini. I mean, some of your mileage as for holding it and how comfortable it is in your hand, it might be better with the 5-volt model. I know that changing the wiring in through that hole in the bottom is a little easier with the 5-volt model, just because there's a bigger gap in there for you to work with. On the Mini, there's only that tiny little hole in there to get the tweezers in and move things around. So that's a little fiddly. I mean, it works. It works okay. It's heavier than my Rios, and it leaks more just because there's no catch cup there. So, you know, I find myself, even with the top feed, you know, I'll feed some juice in and I don't vape it all out of the atomizer, and I set it down, and when I come back, you know, half an hour or an hour later to pick this particular mod up again, there's juice all down along the sides. So if you're a better dripper than me and you make less of a mess, you know, that may not be an issue. The other issue for me is that 16340 battery doesn't last very long. I get about an hour and a half off of it, and then I had to switch it. I mean, it's not a big deal to carry a bunch of tiny little batteries with you, but, you know, I have a Rio with an 18650 in it, several of them. You know, even a 14500 in some cases is going to last longer than a tiny little 16340. So, but then again, it's orange and it's pretty. That's about it. Okay, and it's convertible, so I could take the little mod off and use just that, but, you know, I can't put a tank on it. I can't stand it up. I could maybe use a LR cartomizer on it And then it would still be just a little tiny GLV Mini, and GLV Minis don't cost 200 bucks like this does. So I mean, it's kind of cool that it does top or bottom. It's kind of a pain in the neck to push them back and forth. But that's about my take on the GLV3.